Now I'm doing the boring presentation, boring a lot of text and no pictures or only a few.
No fun?
No fun. So, I'm a PhD student in electrical engineering, so my English isn't so good. So if you ask, just have some questions, just raise your hand and I try to answer them. Because I'm more a mathematician and not a language guy. So my presentation will be about our local project. That's a quick view of the agenda. I just show you our project. It's about customer innovation and electromobility. It's in our local area, and I show you the community we start to build there to create innovation together with the customers and the people on the street. The company starts to open themselves. And at least at the end I show you some pictures of how we are going to do it. The project is basically, the goal of the project is try to create communities together with the customers and to think of new solutions. And these solutions should be bridge service. I will tell you in a few seconds about bridging services. And why customer integration? Because customers or people on the street, they know a lot more than the usual company thinks of. They have a lot of knowledge that are really important for the company. And why customer integration and electromobility? Because there are huge problems in Germany with electromobility. The people think it's too expensive, the range of the cars are not enough, but that's only one point of the problem. The other problem is there are no services that support electromobility. There are no car sharing, there are no services for e-bikes and etc. So we have to build these services to support electromobility, and we call these services bridging services or enabling services. And here we did some expert services and surveys, and pretty much it's the same. They all know it, but nobody does it. And we try to do it. We do it together with the local energy company. And this is also a big problem because the energy company is really traditional. They do it, they have a hierarchy and the management decides everything, and we try to change this. And it's complex. That's the project at a glance, so you can see the main parts of the project. It's electromobility, it's innovation, and the customers, of course. And I'll show you some of the problems or the part with the customers we are trying to solve, and the communities we try to build. That's the usual service triangle, but in reality it's often not a service triangle. It's more like the provider produces a service and the customer uses the service or doesn't use it. And we try to build this link between the customers and the provider so they can design the service together. There are a lot of problems with when we try to design a service together with the customers, because there are different languages they use. It's even they don't speak the same language, even if it's all in German. They have different backgrounds, different interests. The company wants to really make money and that's it, and they don't want to share their ideas, and the customer is scared maybe they have a really good idea and just give it away for free and don't earn anything with it. And there's uncertainty. Germans don't like uncertainty. They really want to know what's the next step. And also there are cultural differences. because there in Germany, and especially in the region we live, there are a lot of different cultures, and usually the top management is more old school, more traditional. That's the old guys, they do it the same way for every year. And they didn't have to change it until now, because the energy sector in Germany, it's really traditional. They just sell the energy and that's it. And usually if you look at the literature, you find some solutions, and just a quick view of it. You have to establish a common point of reference. You have to interact with each other. You have to teach the management. And now I will show you the solutions we did come up with. First of all, to interact with the people on the street, we started surveys. We asked them what they think about electromobility or what they want to change. And then they have huge ideas and start to think, yeah, we know it, but we give them now a space to interact with the company. If they see the survey, and then everybody starts to talk on the street, even in Germany. They want to share what's the problem, they want to discuss it with the company, and so we start to interact with the customers. And we also show electromobility. We show the cars, the people can try it out, they can drive it, and it's really different if you drive an electric car for the first time. Then you just realize how different it actually is. The noise you don't think about before. It's really fast. It's actually really interesting to drive an electric car. And if you never try it before, you just think of the range, and that you can only drive 200 kilometers, and that's it. And now I'll show you some pictures of actually how we do it. That's surveys in Dortmund. We have electric cars all around on a big place, and also the charging station, and the people start to be interested in getting in contact with us, and they really want to know what's all about, because and a lot of people say that it's the price point of the cars that's too high. But especially in Germany, we buy cars that are so expensive, and we don't care if it's Mercedes or BMW and you BMW, and you cannot explain this with logic. There is no logic in buying a car for 100,000 euros or more, and so why don't people spend this money for electromobility? There you see some of the cars, and what did you say?
No.
Okay. If you have questions, just ask. And actually there are not so many people, but it depends on the day and when they come, but they're interested in this topic, and if they drive the car for the first time, they start to think about it. Another picture of the service, but we do not only online, offline surveys, we do also online surveys, and start to build online communities. And that's also quite interesting, because in the online communities there are people they know much more than the actually management or the people who decide in the company. They have so much knowledge, so much detailed knowledge, that it's just a big resource for the company itself. But to get the company to this point, we also have a lot of problems in the company, and to solve these problems, because we have to change the whole hierarchy or the whole point of decision making in the company, we started to make workshops in the company where the usual employee did the same thing as the customer later. So they realized I have a lot of ideas myself, so why we don't use the customers? And that started this thinking process of changing maybe something in the company. And that's a really quick view of the instrument we use there. It's quite simple. It's only a few questions to structure your ideas, because if you just ask the customer or the people on the street about their ideas, they have big ideas, but they don't know how to write it down, so that the whole process between the company and the customer or people on the street starts. And usually if the company gets an idea and it's just one sentence, they throw it away. They don't think about it. And here we have some kind of business model we use to structure the ideas. So there is the first structure, it's really simple questions the customer needs to answer, or people on the street. And then we have a first structure of the ideas, and the company can decide if they want to use it. But the evaluation process also is by the customer. So the customer, we collect the ideas, and then we give them back to the customers, and they evaluate how important this idea is, or maybe the service they created. Because, for example, if you compare an iPhone and a Galaxy S from Korea on an Excel sheet, you can't compare everything, because maybe the Galaxy S has the better camera, the better processor, the better display. Nevertheless, the people buy the iPhone because it's the feeling about this phone. Maybe. Yeah, to have an iPhone, and you cannot compare that on an Excel sheet. But if you ask customers, they maybe say, yeah, I will buy an iPhone. I prefer this solution. And that's why also the evaluation process is, the customer does this process. At the end, we have some instrument to evaluate and improve our model and our instrument. The customers can develop this instrument together with us. They can bring in new solutions, think of new things we could add, how we could improve the whole process. And it's really, really interesting, because now we have a community of a lot of people who are interested in this topic and have a lot of ideas how to improve the mobility in Germany, the sustainable mobility, and they share the idea, they tell everyone about it, and we get more and more people who are interested in this topic, and maybe we can change something. So that was a really quick presentation.
Thank you. I just have one question, sorry. When you talk about companies, what kind of companies are there?
Really big companies, energy companies that are really traditional. The usual energy company in Germany, they just have the same thinking for years. They just sell their energy. They don't have to change anything. But now, because in Germany there are solar power plants and wind plants, we start the energy isn't anymore that important, and you cannot sell it. So they have to come up with new business models. And that's why we think they are really important for this process. Because of the problems, they are open to change, and they want to change.
Really?
Yeah. They need to change. That's
the system is fine for
why they need to change?
Because of the solar power plants and the wind energy, and the local people start to produce energy by themselves, and their business model doesn't work anymore. We start in Germany, you can buy
But it
electrical...
depends on the government.
Yeah,
of course.
it depends on the government. We started to sell electrical storage, so we are autark, the houses are on their own, they produce their own energy.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I have a question. What is the level of the, because I know there is a hard moment with electrical cars and transportation, that the batteries are not good enough to get a long range.
Yeah.
If you want to go through the France, you have to stop so many times to charge the battery for a long time, so you have to travel for weeks.
There are fast chargers, so you can charge your car from 0 to 80% in 20 minutes or so. But the problem is that there are a lot of different systems, because if you can, a lot of cars you can charge in Germany, but you cannot charge them if you're in France, because there are different cables, different systems, and that's even the problem if you drive from one city to another city. You have to have a lot of different cards and to register for it, and so we have to find one big solution, maybe one European solution that you can use it everywhere.
Oh, the more we use it, the better it will get anyway. So,
And before there was an idea for the phone chargers, but they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Why?
They have in Korea,
Yeah.
Almost
Okay.
everywhere.
I have an idea, Frank, please come here, and the question will be to you both, because you have both made presentations.
Thank you.
Are you working on your cars or on smaller and giant?
On
Because they are
everything.
cheaper and
That's also really important, because a lot of people, when they think about electromobility, they only think of cars in Germany.
because I have a dream since 10 years. I'm a gardener, and you know the wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
We have a wheelbarrow. When you push a little button, it turns the wheel on itself.
Yeah.
You will sell this very well if
Yeah.
you start producing this. Lots of gardeners will buy this because all the time you're pushing the wheelbarrow with 80 or 100 kilos. If you can just a little button and pushing it, the wheel will turn itself. You will sell this very well. You can offer me one.
For example, e-bikes, so electric bikes are starting to get really much attention in Germany, and because you can drive longer distances. You can cycle really large distances, and maybe you can go to work or so, because you're not so sweated.
And it works well in France also with hills and mountains.
oh yeah.
Like when you're getting cold, or if you leave, you have to
Yeah, cycle.
cycle for 2 kilometers with a 20%.
Yeah.
So it's really useful. In Dijon, we sell a lot of that.
Mhm.
And there is also electric skateboard,
Yeah.
electric trottinette.
Yeah.
And the young ones, they really love it.
Yeah.
And the German cities actually want to reintroduce the cables. In Sofia you have cables for the buses, and we want to do this because so you can start drive with the bus with electricity.
You can learn from Bulgarian gypsies.
Yeah.
You can catch everywhere electric.
Yes.
I think it's a wonderful concept, having all these electric things, you know. I particularly like the idea of a cable car because it doesn't have a battery, because that's one of my main concern. If there is a huge production of electric products, how do we dispose of batteries? Because they are, you know, they're not very ecological.
Minor metals are also, I think, if we start to produce huge quantities, and then they are
There's another, yeah. We said we can throw them into space, flush them into space.
That's not very cheap, though. Unless you're very strong.
No. You have electrospace.
Yeah.
I think there has to be a combination of certain.
But in
Like
fact,
to
yes,
space.
when you receive the rubbish from another galaxy.
Maybe we can find aliens that eat batteries and we can exchange.
Or just develop the teleport.
Yeah.
You know, there is still a cliche with this, also with the cable transportation modes. It's because people, they think they are less free if you have a cable, so you can go anywhere you want with the car.
Yeah.
And we found another cliche, but a change in France. It's with the electric motorcycle. Like people in rural areas, they were saying, a motorbike. Electric motorbike is not a motorbike, you know. If you have no, it's not. But all hunters, now they buy electric motorcycle because they can go silently in the forest.
Yeah.
They can, and no sound. No, it's
An interesting thing that I think I saw this concept somewhere. You know, like bumper cars, they have or like a electric, where they have an electromagnetic field. In Holland, they have this solar path now. They have solar paths, solar highway. They've been testing it, and it's apparently it's working out really good.
Some problems with the governments and the rules about this kind of charging, because if the cat maybe runs under the car, it gets grilled or it's...
Yeah, there's some things that they need to work out. And
But that's solvable, you know.
It's easy in Netherlands because it's plain. There is no mountains. It's easy in Netherlands.
And of course, what about these oil companies?
Actually, in Germany, we have a lot of car manufacturers, but nobody wants to change. They're all happy with the situation, and that's probably why Tesla has such a huge success, because even BMW started to buy cars, electric cars, but they are buying the components, the parts from Tesla.
Yeah, they obviously have a lot of money though, because if they don't, oil producers or oil companies just make everything in their power to stop development in this direction.
Buy everything up.
Yeah, they or they buy the patent and they hide it somewhere. Or destroy it. Or no. Throughout the years, scientists and inventors that have discovered alternative ways of charging a car or any transportation have been mysteriously disappearing or dying in car crashes or plane crashes or stuff like that.
There is also urban legend about this. It's like the water engine. But we never think that the engine can have some calcaire in it. So you use it for 1 month and then you can throw it on garbage. You know? Because it's like you're in your own glass. You keep you need to clean it. How to clean a water engine? It's not
there are some. I think they made some pills that are clearing everything.
It's not in a production. It can development and technological development for every product that comes firstly in the market.
The point is, it was
when you
ready 15
cannot
years
put
ago.
it on the market, it can be development of this.
It's also a problem of the thinking of the management, the current management, because they did sell usual cars for 100 years now, and they don't want to change it. Why change it? We sell cars, so the new cars are a huge risk. Maybe we buy an electric car, nobody buys it, and then it's a problem.
You know,
That's why.
in France, 15 years ago, the government asked the French companies to, okay, let's switch to electric system, and all gas station, well, you sell gas, you can rent battery, or you can have a fast charging system. They say, oh, no,
We're good,
it's
thank
okay,
you.
we're having money every month. Everybody has a car, so we have money forever.
There was during socialist times, actually, a lot of years ago, there was a Bulgarian professor that we actually did an event
Stefan
about that.
Ivanov.
Yeah, Stefan Ivanov. There was we did we showed a movie, like a documentary or something.
Yes,
we had a
it's
discussion
a
about.
movie from the Bulgarian television, actually.
Yeah. How long ago was that? Like.
It was in the 1991.
Yeah, so there was this professor that did some pre-nanotechnology with some socialist funding, like many years ago, and he did some kind of enzyme that and something he called a sponge that he just filled a car tank.
It's a cold synthesis.
Yeah.
It's a cold atomic synthesis.
There's a video with some Japanese scientists were here, and he just poured some water from the sink. He did some measurements to just show it's pure water. He poured it in the tank, and he dropped something like this in the tank, like a little sponge, something. He just poured it in the car and then started driving. Yeah, water.
I know that in the 50s, there was the same example with a Bulgarian. He found out how to make from gas, how the car can make automobile with gas, again with water.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but if you go back and look at the videos of the biggest, I will tell you the name in Bulgarian because it's a BTV production, related to Zagadki.
Yeah.
But lots of times these things are theories of the conspiration.
Yes.
They're not really working. I mean, everybody wants to do this.
It's not like that.
Yeah, this guy, he was actually
famous Bulgarian scientist. I told you about, not about BTV television. I told you about Stefan Ivanov.
Yeah, he was invited in many countries to develop this technology.
That, the Japanese just buy the patent, and it's Japanese now. It was made in the Bulgarian Academy of Science, but now it's Japanese.
There is one
And
guy.
that's the whole situation in the Bulgarian Academy of Science in the nowadays. In this
it's question
institutes.
time.
Because we don't have money, we don't have a state funding.
Yeah, Sylvia, sorry.
Има един дядо, който го бях гледала по TV7, мисля, това е 10-те на случай, той си прави гориво от бромов газ. Мисля, че нещо такова. Едно село и даже се направи кола, която се движи и си
Again, making alternative gas.
Yeah,
Using bromine.
Yeah.
I see this in Cuba where they're running cars on coconut oil. Some of the Caribbean islands. The thing about when you start using ethanol and biomass for running cars is you run into another environmental problem.
When I think it has to be a combination of different technologies.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm not an engineer and I don't know much about this field at all. I mean, I'm interested in it. But this thing about these hybrid cars, I mean, what's the deal with that? Is that a way of bringing electric power into the way of phasing out?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
It actually is, yeah. There are more hybrid cars sold in Germany than pure electrical cars. But there are different problems also because you also have to charge, the charging infrastructure has to be there at some point because otherwise it's just an usual car.
In Bulgaria we have only 5 stations for charging your car.
Okay.
I made a research because I had a project and I have to make showroom, a car showroom, and I decided to make a showroom for Tesla. And before starting the project, I should make research about those stations. And in Bulgaria, we have only 5: 3 in Sofia, 1 in Plovdiv, and the last one I don't remember where it is. And also, you can start a project, and the government can give some money to make a charger at your garage.
Yeah.
But it's really difficult project, and we know in Bulgaria how the projects are made.
But if we have 5 charging stations, do we even have 5 electric cars in Bulgaria?
We do have more.
We have taxis who are that are with
Toyota Prius.
We do have a lot of hybrid cars and more and more electric cars as well.
When I was doing that project, I understand that we have a lot of hybrids, but they are not using their electricity, they are using the gas because of the charges. And I connect to one of the people who has buy that hybrid, and he told me, I can't charge my car, that's why I'm not using the electricity. It is cheaper than buying an automobile with gas or with fuel, but it's I can't charge it in Bulgaria. That's the problem. That's the biggest problem.
Can I ask why you have your garage, you have electricity in your garage and just plug in the car?
That's actually an interesting idea. In Germany there's a project called Crowdstrom, Crowd Energy, who tries to start this project so everybody can sell energy from their home. But
That's really cool.
It's difficult because of the German law. The local energy companies try to fight against it.
Of course.
If you want to sell energy,
Actually, this is the main problem.
There is also a technical problem. It's like you need to have a secure system, charging system, because you can fire the whole place, you know. And it's the case for public parking place. You need to have.
No, I mean about the fight.
No, but you can if you plug your car on, you just fire the system. It's not a big project.
It's actually possible, but it's the law that prevents it in Germany, because if you sell energy by yourself, you have a huge law you have to take care of. There are many rules. It's quite difficult to sell energy through. You have to be a large company to realize it, and that's the whole problem.
Actually, I mean something else. To charge your car from your home energy network. Like 2 years ago, I've done a small research on hybrid cars, plug-in hybrids especially. So what was the advertisement? I have looked at Honda Civic, at Chevrolet.For. And they advertise that you go to your garage, you have a special cable, and you plug in it. Of course, you need like 8 hours to plug your car for 25 miles range, but you can do it at your home, and after that you have an engine to continue if you are going to a longer trip.
That's the typical use of electric cars in Germany at the moment. You just use them for the daily tour to work and back, and that's it. And
which is okay.
But it's good beginning.
There was a question.
Karin, maybe before. No, you were not asking something. Sorry.
Comment?
I see that we all very involved in this problem, because we have this mind thinking of ecological things and so on. But if you look at from the society, for how many years the traditional stations are developed, and traditional cars and the system, the whole system.
Of course.
Developed, and for how many years this is developed?
Yes,
So
but
this is
everything
the
is
reason why it does not exist now, I think.
Yeah, of course.
But it should, but of course we should push it.
You know, for, as you say, the traditional car, the real development starts in the 50s, you know. The real electric, there were electric cars at the beginning of the 20th century.
Yeah, but I mean the whole system
Yeah.
of the cars.
But people, they were looking, oh, a car without horses, strange, you know. Maybe if I go to the rural area, I will have no gas, so I prefer keeping my horses on my. So it was the same from the same.
Well, the truth is, all cars are actually electric. Even gas cars are electric. It just depends on where you get the electricity from, you know.
Have you tried to work in cooperation with big automobile companies? Because we all know that the label is saving. And if you work with Mercedes, and if we say that there is an electric Mercedes automobile, maybe some of the people will buy it because it's Mercedes. Yes, it is.
Yeah, but for a long time they refused to have an image of a non-fast car. It's Audi who did it the first with the big companies and a really fast car and electric bike also. The mountain bikes, Audi is the best of the world. Maybe.
At the moment, the things the big companies do in Germany is only for marketing. It's only for advertisement. So hey, we do something. It's we are helping the nature. It's green, it's eco, and but they don't do it to earn money.
What about, are they developing this into public transport, where people just take the bus?
Yeah, there are a few examples of electric buses in Germany, but it's difficult because we don't have these cables and you have to charge really fast. It's really expensive to build such a charging.
For the inner city, perhaps, I mean, I'm not talking about from town, from city to city, intercity travel, but for local.
It works for really small shops, like for post stations. They have small electric truck. It works for deliveries and so on. But there is a French company, Italian French company, Iveco. They build buses and trucks in France, in Burgundy, and they spend 10 years money to develop electric trucks. And people say, oh, you know, it's expensive, I don't know, maybe I prefer hybrids or gas alternatives. And so it was almost the bankrupt for them, so they decided to make hybrid systems.
So the main problem is consumer culture, then that's what you said.
Exactly, yeah, and it's cliches again.
Actually, in Sofia is only one line with electrical buses. Buses without these, so it's not trolleybus, bus. And you can ask Sofia authorities if it looks nice.
It's runs on super capacitors.
Okay.
So it has a range of about 30 kilometers. And it has to charge on every end station. It charges fast because
it's possible, but it's really expensive at the moment.
I'm wondering how we can prevent the cliche and the consumer culture problem in countries like the United States, for example, because
if you ask for something, it's going to stay commercial. You know, if you want to put something in the supermarket, you should send maybe 10 or 50 or 20 people to ask about it.
Yeah, of course.
And
but
they will have it, you know.
They can't, in the United States, they can't even drive hybrids. They're like, they make fun of people who drive hybrids because they don't drive huge, roaring, smelly cars. It's like they have tons of jokes about hybrids. It's like, how do you turn your car when you're in a hybrid? You open the window and you put your hand outside. And stuff like that, they just make fun of people who drive hybrids.
It's not easy because we are reaching anticipation and science fiction, the limits from mind. Also in 1950, there were a French engineer company. They made a project of magnetic train, and it could go to almost 500 kilometers. And people say at the time, oh, it's too fast, we will die in the train. And so, they, yeah, but at the time. It's the same project. And so they say, okay, let's do the TGV, the really fast train, and at the time it goes only 200 kilometers, and they say, okay, we will go faster and faster, but each decade it goes 100 kilometers faster. And the Shinkansen in Japan, it goes 500 kilometers, but only in testing mode. In reality, it goes only 150 kilometers.
Of course, it's like to put someone from the Renaissance to live here now and to make this big step. It's not possible to have.
Great. Cool. More questions? Anything to add?
The important thing is that there is an idea and people think about this and talk about this. So it's
will happen someday.
It's happening.
Because it's always development.
Jeremy, you want to say something? Huh?
Yeah. Thank you, Frank, for this presentation. It was so amazing. And can we explain the extreme right side growing up by a return of prejudice in France?
The right wings?
The extreme right wings, yeah.
Related to rural areas? Kind of a nationalist cliché? So it's it was the it could be related 15 years ago because the National Front, the National Right-wing party.
Because I didn't understand what he was asking.
That's why we were laughing, because it was like you were speaking in French.
Because you know in France we have a big problem. It's an extreme right-wing party is growing up. And I asked him if the prejudice in France,
prejudice
in France is coming back, and it's the result of the Marine Le Pen party is growing up.
To the topic that we have.
There is a
it's related to the relationship between new and traditional community life is unrepresented.
Yeah, Frank,
It's a break
go
our
on.
discussion, but
No, I think he's talking about there's a stereotype that comes with this rural community attached to this kind of ideology, right?
The stereotype changed. I mean, 15 years ago, they used the traditional patrimonialistic idea of France, and they were taking even Joan of Arc to say France is a tree, and we are going with grounds, and we need Clovis, the Christian kings, to entertain a nationalistic reason and to be proud to be French. But now it changed because it's really urban, homosexual, friendly. It's not the same cliché they're using. They really are for urban citizens, and they no use anymore in the mainstream of their discourses. They no use the rural ancestors.
They use some symbols like Marianne, which you saw on your presentation. You use Marianne.
Not anymore. No, they want to have a new image.
They have a really popular strategy, which is why they're dangerous, because they're so attractive. They use something really modern. They pretend to be like the top modern people. They're not using the traditionalistic image anymore because it doesn't work with people anymore. Now they are getting attractive because they're pretending to be up to date. They have great ideas. They're supporting everyone, but this is really what is dangerous because it's completely hidden. No, I think. I think we.
Because of course they want
they are building a new community.
The future election. They can do it extension because there is a fake image of the party because they want to signify we are not a dictator party, we are not totalitarian, we are so popular, but in fact they are very totalitarian.
I don't think that's their point. I think their point is to create a community, but that is not turned toward external thing. That is create an intern community that is always that is self-centered. I think their strategy is different. I think they're dangerous because they are on the local. They're really attractive to young people. They are saying. They are using media image. They are saying they are using fears, and they're using marketing strategy to create advertisement on wrong facts. They are saying, yeah, look, all the Arab people, all the Muslims, which are French, by the way, they're saying, look, they are putting fire to cars. But you learn 1 month after that it was someone from the party who put fires to the car. But nobody knows it, but because they create media around that. They're really active on Twitter, they're really active on Facebook, they use online community to attract people and to build link between people. But the message is completely wrong, it's completely false.
Link to the line.
Yeah. They're using manipulation.
It's a bridge to the next
I want to ask a question about, you talk about this thing about after the open cities thing, they said people going to the countryside, you know, they're trying to escape the city to come to the rural area, and it brought me to mind, and maybe you can explain this to me, because I never really understood exactly what it is, because again it's to do with French culture and stereotypes. In the Jean-Luc Godard movie, Weekend, where they have the cars, there's a big trail of the cars, it's a very long shot at the beginning of the movie, and then there's a dispute between the farmer and there's been some kind of car accident, but of course there's people in cars all doing different things. Have you seen this movie?
So it's a 1967 movie. Yeah. It's really kind of an anticipation of the Mai 68 strikes. And Jean Godard tries to also to show the problems for urbans trying to escape to countryside. Right. It was really the popularization of vacations and weekends, and so really middle class Parisian they take the car to go to countryside, and so they find the problem of the rurality. You know, the people they take times, they are not really. They have also image about the Parisians' arrogance and so on. They use the balance and the stereotypes, and he reverse it to know the global view of the problem. Right. You know, because each time rural people say, "Oh, Parisian, they are too modern. They want to be like this." And it was the same in the 19th century when Parisian they tried to go to countryside. It was really difficult because if you go with your car, I mean 2 horses with a light, really thin wheels, trying to go to the countryside, when you have rocks and so on the road, it destroyed this Parisian really light car, fast car. So they need to wait to change all the roads in France. For the Parisian, they really go to the countryside. And